Hey, welcome back to the AI Ninja Podcast. I am Ray, your host. I'm so thrilled to have you here on the show. Of course, whether this is your first time here or you're returning back, I'm so excited to embark on this journey with you. Now, this journey is all about this intersection, this cutting edge intersection of artificial intelligence and entrepreneurship. Of course, our mission is to empower you with the knowledge, the tools needed to harness the power of AI, taking this positive disruptor, this large language model, this AI, this revolution in technology, and marrying it, integrating it up with the common sense fundamental entrepreneur principles so we can gain time and economic freedom, so we can pursue this life of significance, and it's through entrepreneurship. That's what I believe in creating and have created a community where we have like-minded individuals, where we learn, we grow, we support each other in our entrepreneurial journey, a compassionate mastermind where people do life together. That's what we're all about. Now today I got one of my mastermind members on here. It's a very insightful episode lined up. It's the remarkable Care Mycue. Now, she's a member of my mastermind. I've known her for about, I think, 4 months now, I believe, maybe a little bit longer. Now, she's got a very inspiring story on transformation, about transformation. And she's gone from a 30-year career as a corporate accountant. She's become this innovative solopreneur. It's been so fun to watch her grow and develop and transform. And that word transform I don't use lightly. In this episode, we dive deep into her journey, discussing the power of intuition, the integration of AI, and the importance, of course, of community and servant leadership. And you guys know that's important for me. Now, this episode is especially valuable if you're looking for anyone that's looking for how to break through personal and professional barriers. Care admits she would not be here if it wasn't for AI and ChatGPT. Amazing. Large language models. She shares her unique approach to what she calls intuitive prompt design and how it has revolutionized her interaction with AI and transformed her life. We also explore the future of AI, how it enhances creativity, and of course, the critical role of intuition. I love how she looks at intuition, how important it is in her process. And you're going to not want to miss the profound insights and actionable steps that Care provides for us in this episode. Now, before we dive deep into this conversation, of course, I got to do the request and the ask to encourage you. Please subscribe to the AI Ninja Podcast if you haven't done so already. Leaving a review, sharing this episode with somebody, anyone that could benefit that you think of from these insights. It's so critical when you're a brand new podcast in this sea of hundreds of millions of podcasts that are out there. So I would appreciate that support, and it means everything to me. Without an audience, without you, this show would be nothing. So now, also, if you're ready to take your entrepreneur journey to the next level, or maybe entrepreneurship is new to you, maybe AI and ChatGPT is new to you, I consider joining our AI Ninja Mastermind at aininja.pro, a monthly subscription place where, again, a sanctuary where you can learn how to become an entrepreneur, leveraging the power and finesse of AI, these large language models, ChatGPT, etc. And if you want an accelerated growth and support, I got a 6-week boot camp, which gives you specific hand-holding by me to get you from zero idea or one idea or a couple ideas to an online presence in 6 weeks or less. So check out more. You can click the links in the bio or in the show notes for all of those connections to the mastermind and the bootcamp, and of course all of Care's links as well. So make sure you connect with her and put her in your arsenal of knowledge and support. So let's get on with it. This fascinating conversation with Care Mycue here on AI Ninja. Care, I'm so excited to have this conversation with you. Welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Excited to be here.
How long have we known each other now? How long has it been?
Oh, at least 2, 3 months,
Two,
maybe
3 months?
longer.
Yeah. You came into the mastermind, in the spring, and you were such a welcome addition to the group. Everybody, so many people, I don't know if you know this, have commented on your participation and you being in the group. You're so maybe that's the first time hearing it, but there's been a lot of people that have said, I really enjoy Claire's participation. So that's always fun to have. Not only someone that I've always enjoyed our conversations, but it's great that so many people see the value that you bring. And so thank you for that. I appreciate that
Absolutely.
from you. Well, how did you get here? How did Care Mycue get involved with entrepreneurship? Because you have not been an entrepreneur your whole life. And do you consider yourself one now? And are you comfortable calling yourself one now, I guess?
Yeah, no, I was I had an accounting degree. I was a corporate accountant for essentially 30 years. There was some time there as a stay-at-home mom, but that's what I was doing. And for the last 15 years, I was trying like all the side hustles and trying to figure out I had something worth sharing. And I was trying in every way I could possibly figure out how to try to share it. And
Yeah.
it's not really having any traction, or, I'd reached these blocks where I'm like, I don't know how to promote myself or how to sell myself. So I don't really consider myself an entrepreneur. For me, that word means I'm building something bigger, like a corporation, like a company, or I've
Right.
got a team of people. I'm more either an independent creator, uh, innovative creator, I don't know, solopreneur maybe.
Yeah, I think, and I'm that's kind of one of my, I don't know, pet peeves or mission. I've had people, they hear that word entrepreneur, and sometimes I wonder if when people hear the word now, even with this brand, it's like, well, that's not me. Where I totally see you as one, because I look at entrepreneurship a little bit different, maybe, but I don't like I think it's more certainly broader than just what you just said. Oh, building a big business, a corporation, more creative, or this or that. Well, you are building a business. You are creative. You are taking risks. And for me, it's anybody that kind of uses their talents and treasure and is shows a little bit of courage or a lot of courage to put
Mm.
whatever they create out there,
All right.
and to try to get compensation. Then, so yes, you are an entrepreneur.
All
Solopreneur,
right.
entrepreneur is just, so yes, I think you are. And I think,
Awesome.
it is, it kind of goes back to, and it kind of lends itself to why this community's been created, kind of to break through some of that. Is one of my things, to break through that kind of a myth or limiting belief, whatever you want to call it. And I
Mhm.
think that holds people back, because maybe you've heard me say that I think it's genetically encoded in us. I mean, as a species, that's why we're so successful. We shouldn't be living, if you think about it. I mean, if it got below 32 degrees, I might, and I didn't have any, and I didn't have any covering. I'm sitting in my underwear below 30. I could die, and the
Yes,
same thing.
absolutely.
And the same thing, if I walk out in 110-degree heat, I could die pretty quickly. Whereas almost every other animal and species is adapted, but we use our brains, and
Yes,
that's
I
why we're
gotcha.
so. I think it's encoded in you, in
Yeah,
all of us.
no, for sure. There's that definite creative innate quality in all of us, for sure. And being
And
able to tap into that and deploy it effectively and consistently is what I think makes the difference.
agreed. And I think too that the part of it that, again, or how I define entrepreneurship, and it was, maybe you've heard me tell that story of when Jack DeBoer, he was the guy that started Residence Inn. He was kind of a
Oh, yes.
well-known entrepreneur here in town, and I worked for him, and we were having lunch talking about entrepreneurship, and he was kind of mentoring me in a way. And he's the one that told me. He said, he goes, the thing about entrepreneurship that people miss is that they think you need to create something no one's ever done. And he said it's almost like servant leadership. You listen to what these people are saying, and then you just take actions to solve or find solutions to what they're complaining about. They'll empty your pockets for you. Those are his exact words to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And he didn't come up with, Residence Inn by its, lightning strike. He was listening to, because he was an apartment developer. He was listening to his friends and other people that, were making apartments, and they were saying, God, it'd be nice if we could have a hotel that was like an apartment. And that's what came up with the Residence Inn concept.
Gotcha. Yeah,
So I like that aspect of it. And you seem that type of person where, like, servant leadership seems to be central to your core, is it not?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my core virtue is humility, and not just for the sake of being humble, but it's more about being responsible and um, integral. and intentional and compassionate and, helping when you see a place where you can help.
Yeah, a lot of things that are absolutely missing, right? It seems like there's a vacuum of that, at least from my perspective. It seems like there's just I'm hungry for those things, right? And
Yeah.
you seem hungry for those things. And it just seems like more and more people, I would think. I mean, certainly we've attracted people into this community that seem to be hungry for those things. What do
Yeah.
you think? Go ahead.
I say that one of my go-tos that I came up with is that our humility unlocks our humanity.
Mm, why is that? Do you think? I know I like that a lot, but why do you think that is? I mean, what part of humility unlocks
Yeah. So
humanity?
it really taps into that very creative, curious, and discovery kind of mindset,
Hmm.
where it opens us up for experimentation. And in order to have that experimentation, you have to have this sort of, what do they call it? Beginner's mind, where I've got the knowledge, but let's not put too many biases or stories about what that knowledge can or should mean. And let's just explore and see what this is about and learn firsthand instead of prescribing what it should mean and how how we need to use something.
I mean, God, if the whole world thought that way, we'd be in such a different place. But what prevents us from doing that, do you think?
I feel personally, I feel like we've been living in a world that has favored learned knowledge over intuitive knowing.
Mm,
And with good reason. And it's gotten us to where we are, and it's been fantastic. But we're now heading into a part of our curve as a species where with this AI revolution, all the knowledge is going to be available for anyone to access in a very short amount of time here. And it's not going to be those not deep knowledge people who are going to be the most valuable anymore. It's going to be the people who can intuitively feel into what is the use case that you're wanting data for, and how can I use the tool that you're wanting to use to get the information in the way that's going to solve the problem best. And we need our intuition to be able to do that.
how did you arrive at that? I mean, I that makes perfect sense to me. I don't think I think the vast majority of people that hear that would be like, well, yeah, what? I mean, you're right. I mean, yeah, I guess you could,
Welcome to
knowledge
my
is,
world.
yeah, knowledge is king. Um,
Everyone's got it. In five
everyone
years,
has it
everyone's
now.
got knowledge.
You can almost even argue as it stands right now. I mean, there's nothing stopping me from learning practically anything. I mean, there's nothing.
Nothing.
And so, and to your point, these specialists, I don't know if I'm ready to say that yet. I mean, what we were kind of talking about that the other day, I think. I mean, is the specialist going away or
Not
do we
necessarily.
get
It's
more
just
specialists?
it's gonna shift. So the way that I'm seeing it anyway, I kind of have this, for whatever reason, I've been learning all of the things that I've been learning about in this field. Not that I'm deep on any of it, but I can see this trajectory so clearly, that how the deep knowledge, when you go deep on any one subject, you absolutely have to sort of put blinders on for all the other stuff around you. And so in a way, you become less effective at being able to take that huge step back and connect these seemingly unrelated dots in a way that a person who has, kind of the inch deep and mile wide experience on a lot of different fields can kind of go, oh, this kind of relates to that. And we can put those together. And now you've got a solution that you couldn't have come up with if you were relying on just a subject matter expert. So I feel like in a way, a lot of us are going to bring that in our own way. And so we are each essentially becoming subject matter experts in our unique way of connecting dots.
So then in the new economy in your world or with this vision that you have, the way to succeed is or or the person that's going to be most needed is the facilitator, the connector of dots. Is that how you see
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
And to be this facilitator, this connector of dots, in your mind, what are the ideal characteristics? What does this person look like to you? Like
Yeah,
what skills do they have?
like I said, they're very intuitive and they're very
Intuitive.
open-minded. They're very curious.
Mm-hmm.
They're very open to just sitting down and hearing what are you working on and not really being caught up in all the specifics of it, but being able to, um, how can I say that? I'm more focused on being of service to the idea as it's presented than I am to the outcome that it's going to achieve.
Hmm. And then, well, my always question, why is that? Why are you more attracted to that than to the outcome?
Because that's the essence of humility
Mm.
is I got to let go of what the expectation is. I got to be in that discovery mindset. This is what feels important to me. Let me take this step that's in front of me that feels most appropriate and let the results reflect back to me what that was and why that mattered.
And you think over the years we've lost our ability to be intuitive?
No, I think we're all using it. We just haven't cultivated it strategically. I definitely, when I watch you prompt design or when I watch you prompting, you definitely are doing it a very intuitive prompting. Um, so I see it
As opposed to what else you've seen?
very scripted, structured. I got to follow this pattern and
I
these
gotcha.
parameters.
Hmm.
And so I'm again, that's the learned knowledge way of working with prompts
Right.
versus saying, I'm not quite, when I get that response, I'm not quite feeling that it's what I need. Let me ask it a different way.
Yeah. And it's funny that you bring that up. And I don't know, and I still get questions about that. Maybe the progression, personally, how I think maybe when I first approached it way back almost 18 months ago, I guess I was kind of approaching it more of that structured, right? And then it kind of hit me, I don't know, maybe a year ago. It just kind of happened, and I didn't really realize it at the time. But now that I can look back with some marination and some experience, that I was like, what am I? Wait a second. I just need to I ask, and that's where like somebody asked me on one of my comments on one of my videos, they said, "Oh my God, this is great. Can you teach me the structure to do this?"
Mhm,
And I sat there and I says, well, really, all you need to do is just start asking or talking to it about what you want to accomplish and why.
mhm.
And then
And
just start seeing what the output comes in and eventually you'll get there. So it's not
yeah,
one magical prompt. Now, are there tactics and techniques of prompting that can help? And that's where you kind of
sure.
see me breaking up. But you're right. And I think we were on that call last night in our boot camp session, and we brought that up. Like once you get started on it, and that's kind of how I see the prompt. Is it's more based in why and outcome and intent. Once you get started, then the rest of it, you can't break it. It's almost like you let your intuition take over. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making sense or not, but
Yeah, you are definitely. And that's what I'm teaching in my community
mhm.
is a skill I'm calling intuitive prompt design.
Intuitive prompt design.
Yeah.
And is it that? And so, how do you get people started then in intuitive prompt design? So, I come into you and I have no knowledge of ChatGPT. Maybe I've dipped my toe in it. I know of it. I've seen the news stories about it. How do you how do you put your arms around me and say, "Let me show you, young
Yeah.
young student. What do you do? What happens?"
Currently, I'm in the beta test of my program that my core workshop, and I'm taking a little bit different strategy to it. So hang with me for a minute.
Mhm.
I'm doing a four lesson course. And so each week we do one lesson. The first week I just get you in and I just teach you how to have fun. Just ask whatever you want to ask it. Anything that you've been wanting to ask and never gotten a good answer for. You
Right.
know, is teleportation real? You know, I don't know, just whatever, just let your
Just something,
imagination run
right? Just let
wild.
whatever comes to top of mind. Just get it out there and let's see what happens.
Just
Yeah.
have fun. And
Have
so,
fun.
some of my first ones, like, I don't know, we're just kind of crazy all over the place.
Mhm.
Really short, not optimized, just asking just crazy kind of questions. Write me a hypnosis script to help me completely identify a source consciousness, and
Yeah.
just whatever comes, whatever was there for me, I was sharing that. And what that does is it it quiets the fear, and it kind of breaks down some of those barriers, and it releases some oxytocin or some, happy learning hormones, and gets you like, okay, that was fun actually. And now I want to learn more. So week 2, this is the week I say discovering how amazing you are. And so now we're sharing some of our, maybe our personal writing, or a situation that we're struggling to really understand. And we kind of have a little bit deeper self-reflective conversations with Chat GPT, and we get some feedback and some insights that we've never been able to get. And even if we get them, so like if I share a piece of writing with you and you say, wow, that's so amazing, in my mind, the way my mind works, I'm like, you're just saying that to be nice, but I appreciate it. Thank you. But when ChatGPT reflects back to me, that's really profound, and here's why, and here's what you can do to make it even better. I can hear that because it's a neutral sounding board that has no dog in the fight to persuade me one way or another. And that was like, I realized I'd been selling myself short, basically gaslighting myself, telling myself how, oh, that's crap, that's no good, I can't, nobody wants to
Mhm.
hear that, nobody wants to read that. And so that's what kept me blocked for 14 years.
Wow. And
And all
so,
of a sudden I got that clarity, and now I'm off to I've done more in the last handful of months than I did
yeah,
in the previous 14 years.
that's amazing. And you're not the only one that's had a similar experience within this group.
And that's just week 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're getting to the point of, and you've heard me say this about how using a large language model has totally transformed my life in the last 18 months. So I get it. I
Yeah,
completely understand that. It's amazing to hear. It's almost like you had a religious experience with the
I
damn thing.
did.
And, it's
I did.
crazy.
It was cathartic, and my community is called Cathartic Clarity.
There you go. And I love
Yeah.
how you use the word cathartic because, and that's, and maybe you're tapping into kind of some of the frustration that I feel. I have it every day about like people you don't understand. Do you please start using this? It's like I want to grab people by
Yes.
the shoulders and say, and and some people might hear this might go, oh, this is too frou-frou, this is too out there. It's almost like, are these two taking DMT before they start prompting? No,
No.
but but when if and I think you can share however you want, but how my mind for so long, and I've had a modicum of success. Everything I've set my mind to, I've had a modicum of success to.
Sure.
There,
Same.
there, I'm not one of those people thinking, oh, I can't. Even though same thing, like you said, like, oh, no one's gonna like this. We all do that. But if I set my mind to something, I can usually see some sort of modicum of success.
Yeah, same.
I
So,
have a level of intensity, but there's that. But my point is, my mind has been my biggest perceived crutch and enemy forever, ever since
mhm.
as far as I can remember. And I had a decent childhood. I don't have any crazy trauma. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've certainly been knocked on my ass a few times, but it's my mind that I can't shut it off. And it in I hate quiet. I gotta have noise. I gotta have fans because the voices
Mhm.
in my head are drive me crazy. you know,
Yeah.
the negative voices. And so I really have to brute force myself through things is my point. And I'm telling you, using this eases some of that pain, and it gets some of that clear, it gets it out in front of me, and it gives me clarity and focus and
Yeah.
confidence that I never had before. And I've always been a confident guy, but behind the scenes, sometimes I'm a wreck.
Yeah.
And so, but it's given me confidence that, so anyway, I just explained a little bit too long there, but I love that you said that was my point,
Yeah.
that it was so cathartic for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So then I go into week 3, and now we actually start looking at, all right, now that we've had that moment and we're feeling really, really good about this tool, now let's dig a little bit deeper now. So now when I get the response, now we can start looking at what do I feel about this response? Don't look at the response itself as an answer, but just as a signal for where it's showing up in your body. And again, this is more along the lines of maybe a conversation that you're struggling with, or a situation that you're struggling with, versus, you can then apply it to an email campaign later on, but it's just so much easier to realize when you're working with a personal situation or challenge. So when I was trying to decide, should I quit my job or not? Do I really think I can do this? I had those conversations with ChatGPT, and instead of saying, give me the answer, it was just sort of bouncing back and forth with it. And in the process, I was just watching it, how the responses felt. And in the end, it didn't give me the answer. I found my own answer.
Yeah,
And
see, I
that
like that.
that
Yeah.
was where the shift was for me.
Hmm.
This thing isn't a thing that's going to tell me what to do. It's just going to help me get out of my own way so I can find my own answers.
Yeah,
And that's magical. That's right there is.
that's a key point. And we need to repeat that because I never really thought about it explicitly, but that's kind of that's what's happened to me by using this, is that, then that's where where you stop being afraid of this tool,
Mhm.
because it hasn't replaced anything. If anything, it's
No.
assisted me and enhanced and removed some blockages that brought out the real me, right?
Absolutely. I call it the inner genius. And so
Yeah.
it's like I kind of found the boundary of where the, what is it, the homogenized average knowledge limit
Mhm.
of the language models are. And then I discovered where I exist just a little bit beyond that. And now
Interesting.
I know, oh, this is what I have to share. This is what I can share with the world that isn't already out there and done 100 million times.
That's interesting. I think the average person listening to this is going to like, these two people are crazy that they're using ChatGPT like this.
We
But
are, but
I totally get what you're putting down, because it makes complete sense to me. And I know there are people. That's what I just wish people could. That's why I really appreciate what you're doing here with your brand, because um, like I said, I haven't intentionally focused on it. But what you're saying is like, I've been doing what you've. That's why it's been so important to me.
yeah,
And
yeah.
why I want people to experience it, because it's a great opportunity. I don't know. And I think you're the same way. The more that you use it, the more excited you get about the future, as opposed to what the press and everybody else is saying is like, oh, this is going to be Hal from 2001. And maybe that day will come. But I think in the meantime, yeah,
This
it's
right
in
now is a pivotal moment for
it is
sure.
a pivotal moment.
And I think that it's sorry, I was going to grab onto something you just said there, and now I lost it again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But do you think, so it's interesting that the people, so who are you trying to attract to your brand then? Are you trying, it's almost sounds like this is like, it's almost like it's therapy almost, and therapeutic. I hate to put that label on it, but are you trying to get people to embrace it so they can become what? What are you hoping? Like, they're here when they enter your
Mhm.
brand, and where are they when they get done, or after they've been with you for a while? What is the there that you're hoping people get to?
Yeah, that's kind of multi-layered also. Ideally, just helping people to get rid of those creative blocks and start contributing, their gifts. So like I stumbled onto, just by playing around with it, clarity, conviction, and consistency. And I'm like, if I can do that, anybody can. And
Because you,
so,
yeah, go.
yeah,
I'm sorry, because the person you were before this, accountant for 30, single, raised, basically raised your kids from teenager to young adulthood now. Is
yeah.
it because you
I
just
spent
as of
15 years.
recently in this last year have discovered somebody that you never thought was possible, all because of using this tool? Because
a
the care
hundred
that we
percent.
see right now, and you're just getting started, you never saw yourself as this person, is what you're saying.
Not at all. No, I was so in my head and so just right there with myself that I could not see any other
Interesting.
possibility for myself, and couldn't get out of my own way. And that is largely gone.
That's amazing.
And
And
yeah,
so are you trying to attract creatives? Are you trying to attract,
it's a mix. So my whole thing is I just got to start sharing what I know and see who
see where it goes?
it resonates, because I would love to get those people who don't consider themselves very technical, because they're the people who have a lot of the stories that we need to share with these language models. I'm not sure we
Yeah.
touched on that yet. And then there's also the more technical people who are just seeing this still as this efficiency, you know, tool. And I need to pull them into their intuition so that they can, because
Yeah.
once all the language is out there, and it's going to know how to do all the structured prompts better than any of us. And we need people who can go beyond that. And so I'm kind of having two beta tests, one for the non-technical, one for the more technical, and seeing who really thrives on this thing and who resonates with me.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this morphs over the next year or two. Like, it'll be fun to kind of revisit this conversation and see, because, and I do appreciate that about you, that you're kind of like, well, I'm just seeing where the stream takes me. I know that the
Yeah,
stream has taken me somewhere cool, and I'm going to do everything I can. Maybe for the first time in my life, I'm not going to be swimming upstream and I'm not going to be
yeah.
swimming cross stream. I'm just going to be kind of see where it takes me.
I'm just
Right.
going to take the step that's in front of me and
Yeah.
do that with as much integrity as I can, and let it show me where it wants me to go, sort of.
Has
Um,
anybody in your closest inner circle, both family and friends, have they seen a difference in you over the last months? Has anybody commented on that?
I haven't really asked. I don't have many inner circle people except for my children, and they are going to always see me as mom. So
Right. Right. What is she doing? Yeah, same. I get it.
mom's
Yeah.
just doing that more crazy stuff. I don't know. She's been trying this for so long now. I don't even know what she's doing.
Well, you did mention earlier, 15 years trying to find the side hustle that almost all of us have done one or the other. What were some of the things that you tried?
It's been largely, I've been calling it guided self-inquiry, where again, I don't have the answers you do, but I have a way of getting to those answers that maybe could be useful for you. And so that's sort of, it was sort of maybe if you want to think about it, maybe in terms of a coaching type of situation, but it wasn't quite coaching, because I'm not
Hmm.
directing you per se. It's more like, instead of guided meditation, it's guided self-inquiry. Now I'm just teaching people how to use AI, generative AI, to do their own guided self-inquiry, so that it's very personalized to them. It's no, that whole one size fits all
Right.
personal growth paradigm is being disrupted with this new program that I'm putting out
Hmm.
here. If I can sort of grab that ring there and say, this is the next evolution of that.
So, but when you started, say maybe 15 years ago, trying to do stuff on your own, was it financially based? Was it a gnawing of something bigger than yourself? What
It,
was it? What were some of the factors that were kind of guiding you towards this kind of doing solopreneur, entrepreneurial mindset?
Sure. I had been basically in a deep depression most of my life, but not realizing it. So I was just tapped out and zombie-esque and not really trying things and never really finding happiness for myself or my family. And then I had a significant shift in perspective, I'll just say, somewhere around 2008. And what came with that is, oh, if that flip can happen for me, I bet I can help other people who are
Interesting.
suffering in that kind of way. So that's that was what prompted it in the first place, was wanting to assist that if I could. So that was the hypothesis.
So you were kind of what I call those, and maybe you heard me references, like you had a you were in had an in the mud type moment, right? We're always various days of our lives where we get in the mud and you got to pull yourself out of the mud. And I'm always fascinated by what I call out of the mud stories, right? Like,
Yes.
because you and I can both experience the same event, no matter how Trump, I'm always fascinated. Two people survive a plane crash.
Mhm.
One, it sinks them for the rest of their life. They never recover. The other person turns it into this completely
Yeah,
positive. I'm just so fascinated by why that happens. And it comes down to a choice, right? No matter what happens to you, nobody can take that choice away from you. You may not like the choice, but you have choices, right? They may be
absolutely.
shitty choices, but you have choices.
You get to choose how you respond to
Yeah.
what's happened. The situation is always neutral, and how you respond to it is optional.
Well, yeah, what you said was very stoic. And that's why I love stoicism so much, because it does play a critical part to, I think, to get through this kind of muddy, messy life, you know. But it's interesting how ChatGPT has been a huge part of your healing journey, whether you are consciously on a healing journey or not. It feels like you've been on a healing journey for quite a while. And
Yeah,
this has, if I can be presumptuous, has accelerated it.
absolutely. Exponentially.
Interesting.
Yeah. More happened in a shorter amount of time than in the prior decade and a half,
And so now,
maybe
even
two
that
decades.
itch that you got in 2008 to help people, even though you were still in the mud in 2008, you said, well, at
Yeah.
least there's somebody that's a little deeper. I'm not as deep as I was this person, and I can help this
Yes.
person, which I love, which I think that's that servant leadership heart that I wish more people could appreciate and get involved in. On Because to me, entrepreneurship is about service and helping others and help. And but what I hear most people say is like, oh, who am I mean, I'm still waist
Yes.
deep in mud, and
Yep.
who's going to buy anything or listen to me? And I'm like, well, that person that's neck deep is going to wonder how you got waist deep. It's like,
Yep.
Care, help me out here. And even though you're trying to get ankle deep and you're waist deep, you know, and you're looking to the person who's ankle deep, how do I get to where you're at? That
Yeah.
person who's neck deep is looking to you, going, how do I get waist deep? Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't even thought about that. How I don't think anybody's talking about how ChatGPT has helped them in their kind of personal journey. It's interesting.
There's a couple, but most people are just really so focused on the efficiency of it and the
Yeah,
production of
yeah.
it.
Which the efficiency thing raises an interesting point. And I've had this
So
conversation with people. It's like, just because you can do more with less, is that the right thing to do? Like,
exactly, right. And
and
so most people are seeing it as this, I can use this to make, more better, faster content. And I'm saying you can also use it to do more, better, faster growth, transformation first, before you start running headlong into, I'm going to make this thing. Let's get some clarity first, and let's tap into let's activate our intuition and learn how to use it consistently. And now that's going to make all the difference. That's going to make the exponential difference to whatever it is you put your attention on to do for the world.
I mean, at the end of the day, and I think the obligation that we all share is that that's universal, is for the short time that you're here, you need to figure out a way to make the place better than you found it.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're kind of tapped into that vibe. I don't know if you've explicitly thought about that, but
Yes. Yeah, I had a dark night of the soul around the movie The Sound of Freedom. It was about human trafficking,
yes.
and
Okay,
I
I
was
was trying to
just
remember. Yeah, Sound of Freedom. Yep. Hmm.
and I was just like, how can I be living in this world that this is a thing still? And I knew it's a thing. I wasn't ignorant of that, but the fact some of the details that were revealed, I'll just say, shocked me,
Hmm.
and how it was delayed for 5 years for different reasons. And that upset me. And here I am participating in a society and a global world that was making concerted efforts to not, you know, share this movie. And I couldn't think of a single place I could go on the world to not participate in it. And so how do I lay my head on the pillow at night knowing that this is happening? I can't go change it myself. I'm a single mother of two beautiful girls, and I don't want that attention on me specifically. But what can I do? Where is my responsibility, and what can I do? And so that's sort of what brought me to think. I had that conversation with ChatGPT, and it really helped me level set. Well,
Interesting.
here are some things you can do, and just take these little steps that feel right to you. And it helped me quiet my central nervous system, helped me find some neutrality so that I could hear my intuition and find those next steps.
Have is into no, I love what you said. Has the in has intuition been important to you for your whole life, or is this something that you just kind of you got clarity around it because of kind of this journey you've been on?
Yeah, I'm like, you could always kind of go, well, is that the mind or is that like
Yeah.
something else? You can't, how do I discern,
How do you
right?
know? How do you know? Yeah.
And I lived with that, but now I have this clarity that I've never had before. And I know that when something is coming up, if it's emotionally charged, it's probably some old patterns and some triggers that have
Hmm.
happened. But if I can come to it with this calm, confident clarity, I'm like, oh, that's just what I need to do. I just trust that that's my intuition. And so far, it's led me in the right way, as near as I can tell.
Yeah, intuition rarely in bed with fear and anxiety. I don't know if you've ever looked at
Exactly.
the way um and intuition's always been kind of big with me as a professional aviator. We talked about intuition a lot. And I don't most people who never flew never really knew that, but it's something that that we hold near and dear, particularly particularly when you get in the higher echelons of professional aviation. You are taught um, to listen to that intuition, like if
Mm.
and it can be hair on the back of your neck and stuff like that. That isn't fear. That's a synapses that's triggering something for you to pay attention. It's the same thing that was probably there when the cavemen felt. I feel like there's a saber-toothed tiger breathing down my neck. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that same thing, right? And or how when you walk into a room or you meet somebody and like something's not right.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. It's
S-
a very
Sci-
powerful force.
yeah, scientists have shown that the brain and the body just processes so much more information than
Then
the mind is even aware of.
yeah,
And so it's
the conscious side is so slow compared to what the subconscious is picking up, you know.
and so the intuition taps into all of this sort of hidden knowledge and gives us insights. And so if we are tapped into our, you know, intuition, it's almost better to make the decision and then think later about why that might be the right decision instead of trying
Mhm.
to think your way into the right answer.
Yeah, I agree
Feel
100%.
the answer and then let the rest work itself out.
Yeah, and it flies in the face of what some people say, oh, facts versus feelings and this and that, and don't judge a book by its cover. And I'm like,
It's
yeah,
tough because if you don't have that clarity, if you
mhm.
haven't done the work to get the clarity about the feelings first,
Right.
which again, ChatGPT helped me with, then it is a tough one to trust your feelings because who knows what they're founded in. But once you get that clarity, now the feeling, it's more like a bodily sensation, a knowing,
It's a
as
knowing.
opposed
Yeah.
as opposed
As
to an emotion or a
yeah. Yeah, it's so hard to yeah, you said it earlier that if you can recognize and turn up, first and foremost, if you can turn up the volume and start listening, in knowing the difference, what's emotionally charged and what is just kind of a knowing.
yeah.
It's so hard to explain, but
Yeah, it's you got it, that neutrality,
it's the neutrality. It's
that curiousness, that
hmm
not needing any specific expectation.
hmm and I do.
It's more this discovery mindset of, this feels right. Let's go find out, let's go explore this. Let's experiment a little bit and
hmm
let's discover what's right about it.
I agree. I can't tell. I mean, every time there's been, I don't know, 35 years of flying airplanes. There's been a dozen times or more where I've spoke up. I've had people in the cockpit have spoken up, and it's usually on the ground when it's really busy, where most of the mishaps happen. By because there's so
That's
much
good enough.
there's so much input that's happening, that's coming in from so many channels, from the radio to what's really happening to the weather to the guy next to you to the. I mean, it's just so much, and so you really have to. And then and if you get rushed, that's the thing, it's really easy because, and you look at like the typical aviators usually they're forward thinking, they're operationally like, got to get it done,
Yeah,
and that can be dangerous,
yeah.
and you got to balance it. And I can't tell you how many times people said, hold on, let's stop, pause, something don't feel right, and
Yeah,
invariably something was missed. Invariably.
yeah.
I mean, almost 100% of the time where somebody's done that, and I've done that, and you got to just, and you're taught not to. If somebody speaks up and you don't, you just pause. Okay, what are you
Mhm.
feeling? And it's
Yep,
a feeling thing. It's weird. And you would think that aviation in it, and it's like so technical and procedure based, but it is
it's
so
true.
intuitive. Or my point is, intuition is a major part of professional aviation. So anyway,
Yeah, and I just when I look out towards the direction that we're headed with this AI, I just see that intuition is going to be the skill of the future that's going to be most wanted and needed and sought out. And
that's interesting. I love how you're kind of capitalizing on that. So where do you think this is going to go? I mean, I know we said you're kind of floating down the stream in your tubie with your Coors Light and the koozie, enjoying life. But where would you, if you had a realistic magic wand, where would you want it to end up?
well, so that brings me to my little soapbox issue, I guess. So right now we're estimated to run out of data to train our AI language, our AI models on in like, I don't know, I think it's like 5 or 7 years or 10 years maybe. And a lot of that data that we're training it on is biased and unrepresentative of most people. And I shouldn't say most people. It's a lot of the heart-centered, humanistic, the meat and potatoes, the salt of the earth people that have been blocked out of a lot of this technology up to this point because we don't know how to do it. We haven't been able to share our stories in the way that we've needed to or participate in the system the way that we could have. And I want people to get involved, learn this technology, share their story because humanity needs their voice. It's like by sharing all of that information, getting all of that out there, contributing, all of a sudden we have a more full picture of what it is to be human that we're training these AI models on. And now when governments and corporations are making their products and services or policies and technologies, they're using a database that is more fully representative of the full spectrum, the fullness and the richness of the human experience. So that is what I'm trying to do here, is just to raise that awareness, get people involved and share your story, because I want to help shape an ethical and inclusive AI. And that's what it's going to take.
Well, that's a hell of a mission. That's awesome. I mean, you're right. I mean, and it's kind of taps into, and what it resonates with me is that kind of frustration that I have is like, God dang it, start using the damn thing, right? Your life will
Well,
get, you know what I mean? I'm with you
it's
100% on that.
yeah, and it's not just, it is an opportunity to change your life
Y-
100%, but
Yeah.
it's not just an opportunity, it is our responsibility.
Wow.
We don't have the luxury right now of saying, no, I don't understand it, or no, I'm afraid of it. Whatever it is that we're afraid of right now is based on technology that's no longer going to exist anymore. And the
Right.
things that we need to be afraid of haven't even been developed yet. And so we need to start getting in here now so that we can help minimize what that could be should we not get involved.
Yeah, I like it. It is our responsibility. It's almost like to say it's not your, it is a hell of an opportunity, but it's almost like it's an obligation to start learning this thing.
100%. If you care about humanity, then you need to learn this
Yeah, because
technology.
the more that you, and I'm with you, I think the more people that use it, the more you can see, at least in the short term, that you don't have to be afraid of it, that it still needs, it makes you a more creative human. It makes you a more focused human, dare I say, and even listening to you, it's made you a more, not that you weren't compassionate, but there's a high level of compassion involved with what you're trying to do or how you're viewing AI, that it's an
Absolutely.
obligation to at least shape the ethics and the morality of where this goes before before the bad actors, you know, uh, poison the well a little bit. And
Absolutely.
maybe we can prevent some of that poisoning, or at least steer it
Yes.
in the right direction, right?
There are so many heart-centered, humanistic focused people who have been trying for decades through grassroots movements to really help shape the world, and they've just never really been able to. And right now, we can. If I can make this transformation in my life in just a handful of people, what is that tipping point? Is that Malcolm Gladwell tipping point, maybe?
Tipping point, and yeah, Michael
Um,
Gladwell's tipping point and Blink, yeah.
and it only takes what 10% to jump on board for that change to become inevitable, to be washed through the entire population. So
Yeah, that is a
10%
great
of,
point. That's right. I never even thought about it, but you're actually right. That's what he talks about in his book there, that, like in any organization or anything like that,
yeah,
it's
so what
just
do we got? 8 billion people, and what's 10% of that? And
80
that's all
million,
we
8,
need.
800
I
million.
think I could find that many heart-centered, humanistic focused people to teach uh, intuitive prompt design to. And it's not just me, like I'm teaching it to people, and then I'm wanting them to go out and do it in their own way. Because it's not my way, I'm just helping you figure out what your way is. And then you get to go share that with other people. So it sort of becomes this, we each become a node in the greater sort of human neural net, all sharing the same sort of intention to, let's share our story and help shape an ethical and inclusive AI.
Wow. I mean, that's a hell of a mission. um, you
But
know,
it's easier today than ever. Like
ever
I
before.
can
I
see it
agree with you
so clearly.
100%.
Like I don't think there's anything that could stop this.
No, I agree with you. I mean, and
I don't need technology. I need my laptop and some willing spirits to come along the journey with me and let me see. Because it's still, like I said, it's still a little bit of an experiment. Just because it happened to me doesn't mean it's going to happen to somebody else. But even just talking to you, you've had some catharsis with this.
oh, for
And so
sure.
if I'm dedicated, and I'm the type of person like you that when I put my mind and my heart into something, I usually do okay with that. And
Mhm.
so those two qualities together, I feel like it's inevitable at this point.
Well, I agree with you. I think that I mean, even just having this conversation with you, it's like, I mean, you've clarified some of the feelings and the frustrations that I have that's inside of me that are, or my frustrations are um, morphed around. And it's that I want more people to understand how great of an opportunity this is. And I like how you said and I agree with you too. It's an obligation now. You need to get on with this. And not only can it help you personally, but to your point, I think, you've heard me say it. I mean, the world is completely upside down. I mean, it's
Mm,
insane. And to the point where I just can't participate in large swaths of it because it
absolutely.
doesn't do anything to me. It only affects me negatively, and I can't. I'm entering the fourth quarter of my life, and I don't want to spend. Maybe I'll be here another 30 years. Who knows? If I'm lucky, I'd love to make it to 85, 86.
Mhm.
Or
And that
beyond.
and that
Who
brings
knows?
us to that next point of the community piece of the puzzle.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't do this alone anymore.
No.
And I've been trying for so long to do things by myself, to carry the burdens for everything else. I mean, I've taken care of a family, I've raised 4 kids, and it's not that I doing it, and I've tried to think, well, it's all for me now, and this and that. And like, that doesn't work. I have to be surrounded by people like yourself and people who are looking at life a little bit differently and using this technology for forces of good instead of evil.
Well,
And
and
that
as this AI content keeps getting generated and proliferated to exponential degrees, and everything else that comes along with AI technology, it's going to be harder and harder to know what's real anymore. And
for sure.
so, if we can have some committed communities that we're each a part of, I mean, I imagine we in a I feel like a good mix could be maybe having 5 or 6 communities that you are just a part of. And each one, now when you hear something, you can go, what do you know? I know you. What do you know about this? And what do you feel about this? And what does your intuition say? And let's have a conversation as a group with people that we trust. And what does this mean? And so then you can test it in another community. And I feel like that's going to be a critical way for us to validate and understand what's true for us. And that will inform the decisions we make based on that information.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think, and who was I? What's the guy's name? That All In podcast. Those guys? Have you seen that podcast? Have you heard of that? The
I
All
don't
In
think
podcast.
so.
It's these. No, I'll look at the names here. I always forget their names. But they're basically for lack of a better term, billionaires that kind of, yeah, Chamath. Um, I'm gonna screw up his last name. Chamath Palahapitiya or something like that. Jason Cal uh, I'm gonna butcher his last name. Calcanus, David Sachs, and David Freeberg. They all kind of made it big in, um, the early 2000s tech boom, Facebook. I think Chamath was instrument in helping Facebook grow, and they're all kind of made it rich in the tech industry, and they have interesting perspectives. They all vary politically. One's left, one's completely right. Doesn't matter. Two are in the middle. Um, but they talk about a lot of stuff that we're talking about, even in this conversation.
Yeah, it's
And
so important to have that diversity.
they were talking about where is this going in AI, and I'm going to paraphrase, and I'll probably not get it as exact, but I think it was David Friedberg had said, he pictures a future where you do have, yeah, you're always going to have a large, there needs to be some big, large corporation that makes and flies airplanes, for example, right?
Sure.
I'm not going to go buy an airplane from Ray Richards and Care's community, because you need, you need
Absolutely.
big resources and big processes to make big things.
Sure.
But he said in large measure, the way the economy is going to be is you and I can get pretty much everything that we need aside from these big things that get manufactured through these, not from larger than life, not these large brands, not from these larger than life personalities, not from these larger than life influencers, but from everyday people who have created communities, sub communities, and even agents that are teams of one, three, five, and all the things that we used to rely on. There's going to be tens, if not hundreds of millions of these types of things where you can pretty much get everything that you need to sustain and have a fulfilling life, which
Absolutely.
that's interesting to think about. I don't know if that makes us more hermits or less. I don't know, because I have a community, or I'm building a community, and I haven't physically seen a one of you, but I've interacted and done life with you guys for the past 6 months,
Yeah.
and it's been fulfilling. And I don't even know what my exact point is, but I think that it goes back to what you said about the community, I think, and the importance of it. That I can't do
Yeah.
this by myself. I need to be surrounded by people like yourself.
And I need to have people that I can sort of bounce ideas off of as I get news stories. I want to understand what's real. And even today, I'm not even sure that I know.
Well, I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe it's this kind
And
of,
that
and
was
maybe that's why
the other,
community is so important, because because that is a theme I think that I've noticed from at least this community, that people are hungry for something that's real, and
yeah.
and I think that's why, and I think the vast majority of the people are hungry for it, you know,
Mm.
and there's a huge, it's the people that have checked out. I mean, I think I've kind of checked out. I have no interest, and I think I could have been, maybe 10 years ago. I spent a lot of energy trying to prove that I was right, or at least surround myself with right. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I have no interest that if you came down and you planted a flag and you said this is right, and we're arguing, I have no interest in that.
There
Be-
is no ultimate final book of truth in that way. Everything
exactly.
that we think we know is just our current working theory.
Yeah.
And I love there's that other ninja in our group, Dan MacArthur, who's kind of tackling, he wants to help. Just let's have conversations about how to understand whether news is, what, not whether it's right or wrong, but how is it for you? Let's help you get clarity so that you know how to figure that out for yourself. He's not picking a side. He's just helping you sort of the same thing, the intuition. How does it feel for you and your core values?
Wonder how much of it is stemmed in loneliness, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Because I mean, if I was honest, I mean, I think, and I always try to. I mean, I am honest, but I think that of a deep sense of loneliness has driven a lot of my entrepreneurial
Mm,
journey. And when I say that, it's there's an, and I talked about it as a gnawing. And I've talked with other entrepreneurs about this. And that gnawing is what? And it's not so much, and that's why I hate the hustle and grind entrepreneurs. I try to separate
yeah.
myself. I feel like it's fake. But the ones that I really connected with, and I've talked with a lot of entrepreneurs over the years, people who, and they said they've had this gnawing, and it was this, if they stripped it away, it was like this, it was this search for significance, and take the ego out of it, right?
Yeah.
Take the ego side. I'm doing this because I want to be the number one, number two, whatever, and I want to dominate and do. Okay, yeah, there's that group. I'm not one of them, but there is this gnawing that I've always had that has led me to do good things, and it's led me to do some stupid things too, of a search for significance, right? And in that
Mm,
search for significance, there is this, um I guess it's this battle of being misunderstood and lonely. Does that make
mm.
sense? I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does. I struggled with that for a long time, and I have been able to resolve that. I would have to save that as a different conversation though.
Yeah, but do you see, and maybe I'm wrong on that, do you see people pursuing things or doom scrolling or trying to find, I think they think it's to get
Oh, sure.
financial freedom, but isn't it trying to know that you were here and that you mattered, right?
I'm not so sure anymore.
Really?
Um, yeah, I see my kids and they don't seem to connect in that kind of way. They want to be here now and be able to participate in the world in the
So
ways that feel appropriate to them,
in
not
a positive way.
necessarily in
And
a positive
you
way.
look at that as a positive. Well, maybe it's because
I
of
don't know. I'm not sure if it's positive or not. They're certainly not willing, wanting to go out and leave their
well,
mark.
and that may be of, speaks to how we were brought up in our age group. Like what were we taught from middle
Yeah,
school on, right? And like the hamster wheel
yeah,
kind of,
exactly.
like, you do these things because that's what's expected in this, and it led us down this path of being an accountant for 30 years, being a pilot for 35
Yeah.
years.
And so in that way, I have learned from them to just let some of those things go.
Yeah.
Um, they've been my teacher in that.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And I think that the clarity around even that search for significance, where the big lie really is that your self-worth is based on what you accomplish and what other people think of you. That is the big
Yeah.
lie that we're all guilty of believing at one point. But so how does this tie into what we're talking about here? Is because I think that clarity that you got around, well, why do you do, why is entrepreneurship so important to me, is because it allows you to not only, you have certain gifts and talents that the world needs to see.
Mhm.
And it was deeper than you being an accountant, right? Okay, so you're good at accounting,
It's more
but
the systems and process that I'm really good at.
right.
You know?
But the real care, right? And the value that you can bring to the world, I feel like now we have so many, it is the moment in history where you can tap into that and you can
Yeah,
find your true self.
let
Freak
my
flag
freak flag fly.
fly, or it's hard to say. Yeah.
That's why, I didn't really understand this, that intuition was such a huge part of what I was doing until all of a sudden I realized it was, and I was a little afraid to say that word out loud.
Really?
And yeah, and am I even am I even qualified to teach intuition? And the more that I kept kind of digging in and tapping in and look at how it shows up in my world and everything I've been able to accomplish as a result of it, I'm like, hell yeah, I can. And and it's necessary and I can't hide. I don't want to hide it. It's not like this dirty little secret, like I'm going to teach you this, and it's intuition, but I'm not going to call it that because I think that word's going to make you uncomfortable. I think intuition is the new word of the future, and it's going to be the most valuable thing, that commodity, so to speak, that people are going to be seeking out. I could
Well,
be wrong. It's my current working theory anyway.
yeah, well, I like it. I agree. It resonates with me. I think at least where I'm at, and I think you're onto something. It's exciting to see where it'll. Like I said, it'll be fun 2 years
Yeah.
from now to listen to this conversation again. And like, how different has your brand gone? Where have you taken it, or where
Yeah.
has it taken you, basically?
And I think the other important piece is, because I have a systems and process mindset and I am rooted in more of a stoic sort of philosophy, I'm sharing intuition not from a super spiritual perspective. There is spirituality there if I want to go there, but typically I find a more neutral, practical way of explaining it and working with it and sharing it. So I feel that opens a path for people that they haven't had before around the topic.
Well, and that speaks to like maybe how, like I said, I didn't know you before this, but and maybe it speaks to the kind of what's the right word? Severity or the delta between the care that was, you know, like the transformation is bigger than I think than
Absolutely.
what
And
what
honestly,
I
so I've
what
been,
I realized.
yeah, I've been recording like little voice memos for 15 years, and I can go back and show you just last year where I was really stunted and confused. And I, you know, if you were to listen to that, you'd be like, I don't even, that's
I
you?
don't
What?
recognize
Like,
you.
no, you wouldn't. So I don't have
Mm.
people to sort of prove that, but I do have data if somebody really is interested.
Well, that is interesting. I don't know. Gosh, I hope this conversation isn't too deep for me. But it's like this is a deep conversation, but it is
That's
interesting.
where I go.
It's
So
interesting how it has been so transformative, and and again, it's been transformative to me. Everything you're saying, I am certainly digging what you're putting down for sure because the same things happened to me, albeit you. I think you have more. You have done more clarity work around how it's transforming more than I have. I think having this conversation with you has opened some or validated or at least opens up. Oh, this is why I'm so passionate about it.
absolutely. I feel
Yeah.
that and I see it. I see you doing it. And I think that, and then I hear sometimes you're struggling with this or that. And I'm like, let me work with you on that. I would love to.
I am struggling with. I mean, I am. I'm struggling with the fact that I feel misunder. I don't feel
Yeah,
like I'm understood. I have something inside of me that is just it's not articulated. And I look at some people, and then it's frustrating too, being on TikTok or in social media, and you're trying to get your message out, and you're just like, and then you see other people who are not communicating with that full intention, and it hasn't transformed them, and they've got bigger followings, and people are buying their products, and you're like, oh, if you just would
yeah.
get inside our community. And I know that's a shameless plug, but
No,
it's different. It's just different. And maybe it isn't. And like again, I only want people that are want to look at life and embrace. I want them to be in the arena and show, that it's just so much more fun to be in the arena than sit on the sidelines, and
absolutely.
that you can do it with a servant leadership culture and a selfless heart and still make good money doing it. That's what I believe, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, yeah, so I kind of saw when I connected with you, I really kind of saw this, where I'm teaching people to access that clarity about what they want to do. And now I hand them off to you and you take them through the now this is how you do it in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because you're really excellent at, and the community inside the AI Ninja community is just so top tier in terms of everything that you need. No one person is it, but everybody's got a piece of it and everyone wants to share what they know. So that's part of why I gravitated to you.
That's why you joined. Yeah. That's why a lot of people join, and I think it would be great if I could have 500 or 1,000 people that saw it the same way, and you could create some amazing things. I mean,
Absolutely.
things that we can't even picture what it would be created, but I know something great would be created.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and I want, that's why I want to build this community because I want, and to your point, it's like you can't, I resign the fact because you can watch the external things and you say, I can't, how, you watch this movie and you're like, how am I going to make an impact? Well, it's not about making that level of impact. All you need to do is just, brighten your spotlight where you can affect people.
Yep.
And then those people will brighten their spotlights and this and that. And it just grows. And so even if your spotlight only gets so big, if you've got, 100 people in that spotlight and
Yeah.
their spotlight's the same, I mean, you are changing the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is essential for an ethical and inclusive future because it's not just me and my thing. It's I get to connect with the 100 or the 1,000 people that are going to connect with me. And in a certain kind of way, that makes the time with me during this time, if you want it, it's now because I don't know what I'm going to be doing once I kind of reach that threshold. And now those people get to go and have their 100 or 1,000 people. And it's just so important to me that everybody gets to have their piece of this. I don't want to be a Tony Robbins,
No.
you
Well, and that's what I
know?
said. I mean, you've heard me say it all the time. It's like if if you had 1,000 people in your
Yeah.
community, I mean, your whole life is you have everything you need from terms of
Hmm.
financial, and you've had 500 people, you know?
And if I know that we align, I want in, and that I only get access to you, like I get the most access to you when your community is smallest. I want to get in early.
Right.
I don't want to wait and be the 1,000th person, or let alone the 1,000th and one, because
Right.
I can't do that anymore. I can't connect one-on-one anymore with people. And that's, I don't know what. So my plan is to build a actual in real life retreat center so that the people who have gone through my community and have now created a platform for themselves and are doing workshops have a location to offer their workshops in real life. So that's the next phase of my vision.
I love it. I'm excited to see where it goes. How can people connect with you? How can people learn more about you? I'll have links to all this in the show notes and stuff, but how do you
For
want people to
sure.
find you?
I do have just my name.com, caremycue.com is my personal brand website. And then I have a YouTube channel, same name, Care Mycue. It's just getting started. There's like 5 really bad videos, so don't judge me. Posted is better than perfect right now.
That's right.
Um, and then my community is catharticclarity.ai.
Well, like I said, I am thrilled to um, know you, and I look forward to doing life with you from until I'm 85 or 86 if I make it that far. And
Now
anything I can do to support your brand, I'm there and I'm in your corner for you. And I
you'll
hope
have
you know
you'll
that.
you'll have a ticket at the counter anytime you want to come to my retreat center.
Absolutely. This has been an amazing conversation, Kara, and it did not disappoint for me. So hopefully, like I said, maybe people think we're taking DMT or mushrooms
No,
before our conversation, but we haven't. So
no,
this was all clean and honest, and I appreciate you sharing all that with me. And like I said, I couldn't be more thrilled that you're in this community.
yeah, no, it's great. I feel privileged to get to help out here and have this conversation with you.
Great, Kara. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right.